everybody. I'm Renee Lowry, and they call me a lot of things at Owatonna Public Library. One of the things they call me is online librarian. And we don't have, we're one of the bigger libraries in SELCO, and yet we don't have enough time to do everything, it seems like. And we're trying to use social media tools, and we'd love to have a full-time marketing department, and we don't have that. So we do as much as we can. I just thought I'd start by talking about what we're currently using. And, for a while there, Facebook was not going to be cool anymore. We weren't going to use Facebook. But that really is what we're using the most. And these are kind of in order. Other than these two, I should switch them. What we rely on the most as far as getting the word out to people. These are kind of tied, and literally tied, in the sense that when I post to Facebook, it also goes out on Twitter. However, we do some Twitter separately, too. And purists would tell you you shouldn't have Facebook and Twitter tied together. You should treat them as two separate things. But I don't have time. I don't have time to do that. So Twitter really should be in third place. I've never found anything better for managing our photos, so we use Flickr a lot. YouTube has become kind of a hit and miss, once in a while thing. Pinterest, probably been 6 months since I've done anything with Pinterest, but that's what we're doing right now. So, but I'm going to focus on our Facebook page today. So I can just back up here. And I'm going to show you examples of some specific posts and why we posted them and why we thought they worked or didn't. But first I just thought I'd show you the live page. And for me, one of the key things is pictures. That's what grabs people's attention. And specifically, I loved it when they made the cover photo big, and I try to pay attention to that. And it's definitely time to change it. This is from the beginning of the summer. This was our summer reading program kickoff when we had a big outdoor event, and I thought that was a great way to start the summer, but now it's going to be time to change it. I thought I'd show you some of our other cover photos. Go into that album quick. Albums, there we are. Views from when our parking lot flooded. If we had time, I'd show you that. Before that one, we had a real striking image. We had a local artist. These are art pieces, but also bike racks. And I thought that was a pretty effective cover photo. And we were getting into the spring, and people were starting to ride their bikes. That was kind of eye-catching. For a while, we had a big project going on in our reading room. Let me just go back to the album. I'll go back. Before that, everybody remembers last winter how cold it was. The project in the reading room included installing a fireplace. So for a long time, it was the fireplace over our warming people over our Facebook page. Historical photos, that grabs people's attention, especially black and white, because that's different on Facebook. You don't always see black and white. That's our old children's room. Beautiful winter scene of our old main entrance, of course. That brings people's attention. And then we've got a local group of high school carolers that goes around, and that was in our newly remodeled reading room, and that was kind of eye-catching too. So just some examples of different things you can do for cover photos, but change them a lot and change them with the seasons. And like I said, this is definitely time to be changing this one, because the seasons are changing as we speak. So, so this is our live page. We have, I'll show you who all works on it. Another thing is I'm not the only one who works on it. All of the librarians are administrators, with one exception. Our children's librarian, Darla Lager. She comes from a family of 7 kids and refuses to use Facebook. We can't even, not even Mary Kay can make her use Facebook, because she doesn't want to be on Facebook all the time with her siblings, I guess. But otherwise, Mary Kay, the director, Mary Guntarek and Bonnie and myself, and then our administrative assistant has some posting rights too. And that's one of the keys too, is if you have other staff, I recommend you know, making it a team effort and not just putting it all on yourself, because other people have good ideas and it helps to put in new perspectives and try new things. One reason I wanted to show you this is that when you're posting, see if I can make this bigger. You can see when you're logged in as the poster, you can see that I was the one who posted this one. I can change and post either as myself or as the library. And there might be times when you want to post as the individual librarian, especially when you're commenting or responding to somebody, or most of the time maybe you want to post as the institution, but there is that option. For your related stuff, what is this? Oh, she's got a nephew at Fort McHenry, so she decided that might be of interest to people. And the other thing before I go off the live page, I'll show you, we allow people to post to our page. And most of the time, that's really great. We had a team project recently, and the woman who was kind of the mentor of that posted some examples of the work that the teams did. And I'll talk more about this post later. Of course, you can't go wrong with baby pictures. Our local patrons. You'll see that one again in a little bit. Here's a similar example of a mom who went too far. Mom who came for a craft day and had a great time. I think there's an example coming up. And oops. And you get the random, what up world? Okay, fine. I used to delete things like that, but if it's not obscene, whatever, I don't care. We also have a couple patrons who like to post jokes and questions, such as, maybe I'm going too fast here. Sorry, don't look, you'll get dizzy. Oh, here we go. Librarian tattoos, who will be seeing these at OPL. And this is one way I think we're successful. We do answer and engage with our patrons other than the What Up World one. And I know him, and I can joke with him, so I basically just said, in a word, no. and we initial our responses, so they know us too. We're small enough that they know who it is that's talking. So, and you can see Paul likes to talk to us on our page. He also then posted the National Library Week. We should be especially nice to the library today or tomorrow. Sometime this week anyway, probably the library with tea or chocolate or a reliable trip to something. Our friend Neil Gaiman wrote that, and of course I responded, so good, especially the last two. So, you know, we're conversational. We like to interact with our patrons on the page. So now I'll go to some specific posts. Oops. Examples of what we came up with. Excuse me, I have a cold if you can't tell. Here's one that I posted probably about 5:30 last night, and by 7:30 last night I already have gotten quite a few likes. This is what the library looks like, or some version of it right now. We're recarpeting in adult services, so it's a little chaotic. And so news, you know, what's going on at the library? What does the library look like today? What's happening? People appreciate knowing, you know, the inside scoop of what's going on. So we need a lot of this type of post. Page down. And then as an online librarian, I'm in charge of keeping the website fresh and up to date, and one of the things I do is most read at OPL, and I thought, well, how easy is it to just cut and paste and slap that up on the Facebook page too? And that's often one of the most looked at posts. Quite a few people looked at it. I think part of that is because this is hooked to Twitter, because even though, you know, when you know that this is also going to Twitter, if I can, I try to make the post short enough that it'll be seen in 140 characters. Obviously, this is too long for that. However, when it starts with this, that grabs your attention. You know, most read, they're going to look at that. And that kind of thing, there's another example coming up, kind of grabs their attention, and it's something, it may not have been liked a lot, but if people are interested, they're going to click and take a look at it. This one, I still don't know why it has such a wide reach. Not a lot of people liked it. The one share was to my page. That might have been part of it. There was some discussion on my own personal page about it, but maybe just the article itself is just such a fascinating thing. I don't know if any of you saw this about a project where they're going to have an author a year write a book, but nobody can read them until 20, what is it? Well, 100 years from now, whatever that is. At 100. So I just think that's a fascinating project and a perfect first author for it, Margaret Atwood. So library news, book news, we share that kind of thing too. Here's another similar one to the most read. Once a month I poll the staff and tell me what are your picks this month. And you know, anything with staff picks, that grabs their attention. And people always like that one. And again, it's a longer post. If you really are interested, if you really want to see mine, because I do it alphabetically, of course, I'm a librarian, you have to click through, but that one is, it's easy to post and it's always popular. Announcements, of course, we also use it for announcements. And what's interesting is that often gets shared by a variety of people. One of these shares, actually with me, we do have a children's services page too that isn't as followed, but is followed, and by different people. And so I often share this type of thing to that page, but then there's a local kind of newsy group that often shares our announcement type things. And so that gets more exposure than for those posts. We have a display cabinet, and we have a children's librarian who, I won't say hoarder, I'll say collector. She has lots of collections. And this is her Wizard of Oz collection, stuff he goes. And so this is something she put together recently, and that, you know, like people click like crazy because they, of course, are going to like that kind of thing. And this is the small, you know, you can make the picture bigger, but for the sake of this presentation, you can't really see it as well. But, you know, so again, this is an example of what's going on inside the library. Maybe you can't get to the library or haven't been there for a while. People like to see what's going on, though. And, you know, maybe you're, like Tyler, you're an ebook user. You still don't come in and check out print books as much. You may still want to see what's going on at the building, though. Here's that cute picture again. The patron shared the picture with us, so then I reposted it on our page so it would get wider distribution, and so she would know that we acknowledged it and thanked her for sharing that with us, and we were excited about it too. And then subsequently it got even more likes. Oh, and then here's this, what I was talking about with, you know, there's several of us that post. Not all of us realize that you can change and post, you know, like something as yourself. And I'm trying to train them to do that, but some of the other staff click like as the library rather than as themselves. So that's why I always want a public library like this picture. And now you can all tell Mary Kay that I did talk about how we talk about public safety. Back in 2010, Owatonna had a big flood event, and she kind of used our page to post community-wide public safety announcements, and I found it very stressful. But she took great pride in that. So I was supposed to talk about that today. But anyway, we also recently had another parking lot flooding. It's a very unique set of circumstances that causes our parking lot, which is the lowest spot in the neighborhood, to flood. And it happens every few years, and it happened again. It's always on my watch, or seems to be. So anyway, that happened recently, and that was, of course, an announcement. And I mean, literally, you can't drive into the lot or your car will flood. So we said, don't come in tonight. was a fun one. Again, just bringing a little bit of the library out to everybody. We have a really good friend who brought us these gorgeous flowers. And I said, well, let's take a picture so she knows we appreciate them. And Mary Kay never refuses to be in a picture. So I said, all right, Mary Kay, get over here. I'm going to take you in a picture. And our elevator's right over here. And just as I was, getting her posed, a father and two kids came off. And I said, well, kids, you want to be in the picture? And the dad said, sure, that's fine. So it ended up being this great picture with the kids. And, it was just coincidence or happenstance that it all came together, and it was fun. And it got tons of likes, 40 likes. Somebody shared it, probably Mary Kay. I don't know. So, just, it wasn't really planned. It was just kind of all came together and got a lot of attention. And then I think this is my last slide. Another example, again, bringing, personalizing us and bringing the inside out. This is our lovely staff room / storage. And these are two of our pages who were graduating high school at the end of May, beginning of June. So we had just a little reception for them, and we brought their parents in and posted pictures. So, because a lot of the people in the community know them or know their parents. And so that, again, got a lot of likes and got some attention for them, too. So to show our appreciation for our pages. So, any questions?
How do you gain, build your audience? I have just recently started a Facebook page for the Twin Valley Library, and I'm not overly active on it, but I try once a week or once every couple of weeks. I'm trying to get better about it. Of course, they want you to pay. I'm not paying. They keep saying if you want to build your audience, pay. Never doing that.
No, don't do
ever. But I just, it's like, some posts that look like it says it has reached, 300 people, other it reached 47. Does that mean that's how many people it went out to, or that's how many people clicked on it and viewed it? Because I've heard I've heard that means how many people that Facebook sent it to their page to view, and I've heard that's how many people clicked on it and actually viewed it. So I'm wondering if you know the difference between that.
I knew somebody was going to ask me, and I was going to read up on that. But I think it's more having to do with how many people it showed up in your news feed.
So Facebook is controlling that?
To an extent, yeah, because what you control that somewhat by what you tell Facebook you're interested in, too. Back to the first part of your question, the first thing I would say is you need to post more often. Okay? You really do. That's the key, is you have to be active, and you have to keep it fresh. I was not above or below or whatever. In the early days, I said I was obnoxious and sent invites out to my friends and said, like my page, like that.
Right, and I do. And then once I do on the library page, I flip over to my personal page and share it, and ask people then to go right to the library page. And then I am linked to Twitter also. So hoping that draws people back to the
That's number
that cycle.
3 and 4. Being linked to Twitter, I have friends that are Twitter users who are Facebook users.
Just trying to gain an audience is challenging.
Yep. And I do share, not every day or not every week, but occasionally if it's something cool or something I know my personal friends will like, I'll share it via our page, so they say, oh, it's on a public library. Oh, okay. But you just have to keep working at it. But the key is you have to keep it fresh, and you do have to do it regularly, or why will people look at it? And you eventually you just kind of hit a critical mass, and it starts building. It was 1041 when we started. It's now at 1042. We just gained a power. And it seemed like right around 500 was our critical mass, and then it just naturally keeps going up for us. And, and some towns are bigger than others, so it's going to be easier.
Right.
and that kind of thing. But I really think the key is keeping it fresh and doing it regularly and experimenting and being personal and responsive.
We're trying lots of pictures.
Yep, and pictures. Yep.
The summer reading program, that was, we had quite a bit from that, with posting pictures from that. People want to see their kids. And
yep. Mm-hmm. Kids, dogs, animals.
Yeah, but the police being taken down by the police dog was huge. That's a big one.
We had a llama one day. The llama in red, it actually was in red pajamas.
Well,
I think there was a question. Yes.
Do you have any problems with people saying you don't want this picture on Facebook after you've already posted it?
That has happened. It's happened a couple times where they said, please take that down, and we do. Actually, it happened more on Flickr. I don't think it's ever happened on Facebook. On Facebook, I do, like with those little kids that were coming off the elevator, I said to the dad, I'm going to post this on Facebook. Is that okay?
And you said okay just to get a verbal agreement?
Yeah. I mean, my attitude in general is this is a public library. You're in a public space.
Okay.
So I'm going to assume you're okay with that. But I do ask when I can. And if after the fact somebody says, please take that down, I take it down. No problem. So,
is there any legal things you need to worry about?
well, again, I go back to operating on, you're in a public space right now. This is a public library. So, and I just, be responsive. If they say, I'm not comfortable with it, so don't take it in the first place, or if they ask me after the fact, sure, we'll take it down.
So you've got several people in the library all posting. How much coordinating have you had to do behind the scenes about that? Or do you just kind of let everyone do their thing?
I'd say a couple things to that. Well, we let everybody do our thing. I still do most of the posting just because that is part of my job. But there is, especially early on, the lack of coordination would mean that I would work on something like that great post with the peonies and Mary Kay and the kids, and I'd post it, and 2 seconds later, Mary Kay would post something, and I'd be like, the impact was just diluted because you. So if you can talk to each other and say, I'm about to do this, that's probably a good idea, just because otherwise you're stepping on each other's toes. But we don't generally coordinate a lot at OPL, so we don't. Any other questions? All right, well, thanks for listening.
Thank you for doing this, Renee.
You bet.
So in the interest of following your great suggestion, may I post your picture to Facebook?
Oh, I'm sure it's lovely, sure. Why not?
But I can post it during our meeting.
All right.
That was great.
Well,
Thank you, Renee.
You bet. Get you set up here.
Yeah.
You did a great job. All right. Anne's going to talk to us about contracts.
So not at all the most fun thing of the morning, I promise you. So far more interesting to hear about Facebook or 23. Each of you in this room, someplace, maybe right where you know it belongs, or maybe someplace where you think it should be because it's someplace safe, there is actually an agreement to participate in the SELCO ILS. For those of you who are long-time SELCO online libraries, this contract would have been signed in 2002. So the reason you may or may not remember that you actually signed it or your director signed it is because it was that long ago. So one of the things that happens when you start thinking about retirement and you're in that 3 to 5 year window, so those of you who are gray-haired as well, you start thinking about, oh my goodness, there's all these tasks that I need to clean up because I certainly do not want my successor to come in and go, wow, what a lousy job this is. And the current agreement that we have for each library is an open-ended automatic renewal, which is why we've never gone back and looked at it. So updated version of the agreement to participate has been drafted. The biggest change is that we're making it a 5-year contract. There was some discussion with the ILS ops that we didn't need a contract at all. So that was that end of the spectrum, all the way to leaving it a wide open once again. We had a suggestion to do it every year. For those that just have to take it to a library board, maybe that's not a problem, but for those that need to take it to a city council or a school board, you really don't want to be going to the school board, to city council every year. So 5 years seemed a good number in that it was long enough that we weren't doing it all the time, but also short enough that the world of technology had not changed so radically that we're going to say what? There is a sheet on the website attached to today's meeting on the Technology User Group page that lists a summary of the changes. And there are sample templates as well of the documents you will be receiving for the school and public libraries. The changes are really, I was surprised by how minimal they actually were. The contract was originally written by Diane Mayo, our consultant during the migration. It is the same contract that she wrote for all the libraries in the Arrowhead library system. And there are whole sections that, as Donna and Ben and I were editing, we left the wording the same. There were things, though, that we took out. The whole list of equipment that is no longer on the premises. All the response times for Horizon in 2003, and we've had numerous software upgrades. And the other thing that was always an anomaly to me, and I hated, and every time a new library came online and I looked at the contract and went, I need to rewrite this. For some reason, and I think it was a cutting and a pasting and it never got blended, within the contract there were a list of SELCO responsibilities and a list of online library responsibilities. And then in an appendix, there was another list of SELCO responsibilities, the online library responsibilities, and some of those places the wording was identical in 2 places. And sometimes the wording was in one place, but not the other, or in the other, and not back in the contract. So now the list of responsibilities is definitely what you have been doing and what we've been doing. The actual wording didn't change so much as it's all blended together. So it was a lot. If you look at your old contract and you go, oh, it was 27 pages and now this one is 9. Part of that also is I went from 12 to 10-point font because it was like, really, you need a document that's 27 pages. Things like response times for equipment that we don't have anymore, that's gone. So what you will be getting in delivery, and it may be coming to you if you are the library director or to your library director. So if you are not the director, go home, let them know, give them a heads up. Will be a cover letter from me that basically covers, here we're doing this because it's a good thing to do for housekeeping. Here's the timeline. There's 2 copies. So I will have already signed both of the originals. So your job as online libraries is to sign 1 copy and send it back to us. And so I can feel good about cleaning up the files on my to-do list. Questions about the contract? Okay. Good. That's it. Like I said, not the most exciting part of the meeting.
Thank you, ma'am.
Oh. Now, it's almost very open business. Really, if you're looking at this and you're worried about taking it to your board and explaining anything, I will try to come out and make whatever board meetings, superintendent meetings you might need. If I'm not available, I'll rope Donovan into it. But, I'm not anticipating, since it is a repeat of what you already have on file, but there were some questions at the ILS Ops meeting. What if there are questions? And, I'm not expecting you to necessarily have to answer, why did SELCO say this? I can answer, why did SELCO put this on paper? Okay.
All right, thanks, Ann. Next, Mike and Cheryl are going to talk to us about changes on the horizon.
I
They do this all the time at Kosugi, right? Like all the sessions have some kind of symphony pun or some kind of horizon, and you know, it's pretty fun. I stole. Okay. So we're going to start by talking about 3 changes here that have been made on our ILS, which is Horizon, as you all know, I'm sure. All 3 of these have been discussed in some manner or another, so hopefully they're not completely new to you, but if you have questions, stop us, ask us questions, or if there's something you're not sure about. So these are the 3 changes we're going to talk about: borrower record cleanup, new blocks, and changes in the pre-overdues, which are those courtesy emails that go out 2 days before your items are due, which remind me to go look for the book that's somewhere underneath my bed. So then I stick it in Jason's backpack and I can return this. Is it really going to tell you it's under the bed? But it reminds me to go look for it. So we're going to start with borrower record cleanup because that's the most recent one, so it was easiest to put down on the slide first because it was more fresh. So this is the policy as of May 22nd, and I put May 22nd on there because that's when it first came up at the ILS operations meeting. One of the committee members said, hey, you know, we do this cleanup every quarter where we're deleting our expired borrowers who have no blocks, but what about all the people that have manual blocks, you know, the cannot use internet or is only allowed to check out G-rated VHS tapes, and now they're like 37 with their own children. So what happens to those? And then what happens to the people with 25-cent fines who expired 10 years ago? So there was much discussion over the next 3 ILS ops meetings, and eventually on August 21st, they came to a decision. Most of you probably saw that survey that went out because that's what a lot of the decision was on, was what is that financial threshold going to be. So they agreed pretty quickly that we would wipe out people who just had those manual blocks and were expired. So the new policy is, this is the new policy. So every quarter, we'll be running a report. I'll probably do it next week. I actually have some free time on my calendar. And so I'll do it next week. So you will get a Excel spreadsheet just like you have before. It'll probably have 3 tabs at the bottom that correspond to each of these bullet points. And the $5 was the threshold, the financial threshold. And yes, you will still have 2 weeks to go through and put the do not purge block on the borrower record if you do not want me to delete it. And then I will delete them after 2 weeks. Any questions about borrower cleanup changes?
Sure. Not so much a question, but it was $5 in fines as separate from like $5 in lost items.
Right, it's fine. Lost is a completely different thing in the system. So, yeah. Rhonda, did you have a question?
So then we need to put that first block individually on each of those
That you want to keep.
Okay. Are you going to be sending me out an email that has all those in?
It'll have all the names. It'll be listed. Just, I don't. You guys have seen the ones previously, right? Where they have the borrower and then it'll have the location code in there. So you would just want to limit to your location, the borrower's location. And then if there are any that you want to keep. I'm sorry?
How many of those have you sent out to?
I think I did one in the spring, and then before that it was Tanya. Yeah. So yeah. Like I know on one I did, my city administrator came up. So as much as I wanted to, I couldn't delete Abraham. He's gone now. I can say that. Okay. Okay. Any other questions?